Hi guys, Rob Davis here. Want to talk to you a little bit about this one subject. So important. Did you know that 44% of Australians will at some point in their life, those are Australians between the ages of 16 and 85, have some form of mental disorder? And did you know that 42% of Australians reported that they had had some form of mental health disorder in the last 12 months? Your mental health, it is so important. As real estate professionals, we deal with people all the time at different capacities in life, going through different things. So we need to learn to understand that, not only for our clients, but for ourselves. Come with me as I share just a little bit about mental health, what the problem is, what's going on, and some possible solutions if you or a colleague are dealing with mental health issues, feeling overwhelmed, feeling anxious, feeling burdened by either your work, your family, your relationships, your finances. All those things tie together. We do not work in isolation. We've moved on from the days of focus totally on KPIs, and we are now in an age of holistic thinking about you and I as a real estate agent, how we work in the environment, in our communities, what we're looking for, how we are, how we feel. And today I want to just talk to you a little bit about that. So I've done some research. I want to share some stories and hopefully give you some tips and strategies if you're in a bit of a funk to get you through that. Guys, as I said, I'm Rob Davis. I'm a real estate agent. I've been in real estate for the last 23 years. I don't claim to know anything. I'm not a professional in the mental health space, but I have had the privilege of working with hundreds of real estate agents over the 23 years I've been in the industry. Most of the back half of my career has been spent in coaching, nurturing, managing real estate agents as they seek to serve their clients in various locations. I'm based in Western Australia, but I've been able to work with agents in Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, and really get an understanding of what makes agents tick, what prompts them to do things, some of the risk behaviors and why that might be. And today I want to just go over a few bits and pieces with you, and I hope you'll find this helpful. If you know somebody that's struggling, please be sure to share this video with you, with them, and hopefully there'll be some resources that they can take advantage of. There will be a resource page attached, just a Google Doc attached to this YouTube video, and you'll find that in the description. Alternatively, if that's not helpful, there is so much information available in the mental health space available online. So if you're in Bing or if you're in Google or whatever it might be, there is easy access to a lot of different resources to help. So let's look at some statistics, and I did write some of these down. The RISE initiative, which is where the RealCare app is hosted, gives some statistics that came out about us as real estate people. The probably one of the sad things is that real estate is in one of those careers that there is a high suicide rate, and we'll talk a little bit maybe about that going forward. They claim that percentage-wise, 13 suicides per 100,000 agents happen in Australia. So that might be 1, 2, 3 a year. It's too many. It's too high. We don't want to lose our brothers and sisters that are working alongside us. Even your best competitor, you wouldn't wish that upon them. And so one thing that they noted on their website was that 26% of real estate agents in Australia are using alcohol to self-medicate through the feelings of anxiety, depression, confusion, sense of loss, whatever it is. Real estate's a hard slog. You just think about everything we do. There are so many moving parts, so many moving plates, spinning plates, so many different things that we have to monitor and keep track of. that it sometimes is completely overwhelming. And 30% of our colleagues, ourselves, have experienced burnout. And that's not surprising at all. So the problem is huge, the problem is real, and the problem can have solutions. So we want to look at why there are a few things, why we have these situations. We are just people. We're a reflection of the community who engage in a very highly risk-oriented occupation. There's a lot at stake. Our reputation in the community, our representation, our reputation within our peers, our reputation within our family. Everything is outcome based. Did you sell it? How much did you sell it for? How, did you get a street record? Oh, you didn't do enough work. All these things we're carrying around between the left ear and the right ear. And that can, if you don't have the right strategies in place, that can really overwhelm you. So we're in a high pressure role. We have a lack of control. We have a lack of certainty. Like, you think a property is going to sell. You talk to a seller. You think it's going to sell for X. It doesn't. It sells for Y. They're disappointed. You feel disappointed. Deals fall over. The timber pest, the building inspection, all of those things are just things that we carry as weights. And we don't really talk about it a lot. But we do. We're carrying and a lot of times, as I said, we don't have control. So our clients are making decisions, buyers are making decisions. Even just yesterday, I had a buyer say they're going to put in an offer. I told the seller, I'm going to put in an offer. Guess what? The wife got cold feet. They're not putting in an offer. I had to communicate that back. Bad news, delivering bad news. It's just such a burden. Some of the other factors, because we're working so much, we're often isolated. So there's a lack of community. No matter if you're working in an office with 8 to 12, 15 reps around you, or you're working from home, a lot of different models out there at the moment, but we can easily feel de-energized, isolated, without community. And for a lot of us, if you're really successful, this is from observation, there is a lack of purpose or meaning. So if we work through a sequence, there is either digital or analog prospecting. We then engage with people. We then appraise homes. We then go and list the properties. We get them set up to sell. We are working with people all through that process. The marketing campaign starts. We then do the opens. We do the private viewings. We're engaging with the buyers. We're communicating with the sellers. We're doing all of those things. We're getting the contracts, depending on what state you're in. That works in different flows, but we do all that, then it moves through to settlement. There's getting all the conditions and everything. It's never the same, but yet it is oh so much a Groundhog Day. We are doing the same thing over and over and over. And what I have witnessed and seen firsthand is when real estate agents tie themselves, their sense of self, their identity to who they are, the high prices they achieve, whatnot. When the market shifts, that can really impact who they perceive themselves to be. And they lack meaning. They lack meaning beyond what am I just on the planet to do home opens? I'm always telling my crew, real estate should fuel your life. Your life should not be totally about real estate, and that's something I think as an overall strategy, we need to recognize that. What causes some of these things? Well, it's just the nature of our industry. If you're not familiar with the DISC personality test, I really highly recommend that you do a DISC personality test. There's some free ones online. It'll help you understand who you are, how you're wired. If you want to get more involved, you can do a paid DISC assessment, and it will come with a lot more explanations as to why you are driven the way you're driven, what makes you want to do things in the way that you want to do things. So many real estate agents fit certain personality profiles. And interesting to note, a lot of real estate agents come from broken homes. weirdly, they get involved in selling homes, maybe because they're seeking at first financial benefit, but then there are some that just want to genuinely help keep people together in a safe place, in a stable environment where they are maybe making up for things that happened in their childhood. And as we're thinking about the way that we do business, the way we engage with our families, our communities, our friends, so much of it is wired through the way we grew up, what how we chose to respond to events. And it really puts us on a path. Sometimes we mirror what we saw, sometimes we rebel against what we saw. And we find that coming to the forefront in how we actually function as agents in a community. Um, I want to talk just briefly about this. I don't want to dwell on this, but when we are feeling overwhelmed, and a mental health disorder or illness or whatever, it could be anything from cognitive decline, it could be feeling overwhelmed, it could be anxiety or anxiousness, it could be a sense of doom, it could be, and obviously there's a scale on these things. You know, you might just have a bad day, you had a finance fall over, you just feel a bit blue for the rest of the day. It could be to the stage where you are clinically depressed. You don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to do anything. Things you are capable of doing, things that you're good at. You just don't want to do it. It doesn't bring you joy. It doesn't bring you happiness. In fact, you just get a big case of I can't be bothered. And somewhere in the mix is a lot of us, and it comes and goes. It's a little bit like the tide of the ocean, you know. There's a high tide and a low tide. We're feeling good. We got, X amount of listings, X amount of properties sold. We're doing that. And then something goes wrong, or a lot of things go wrong, and everything goes out. And we look towards how do we cope with this? And so here are some of the things that real estate agents do. And I know you know somebody that does this. Um, we actually practice self-sabotage. So we know what actually will work to help us out of a particular real estate slump, maybe, or maybe you're overworked because you've been too successful. We'll start to self-sabotage, do things that will actually train wreck us. And some of those things are alcohol and drug abuse, very, very accepted in our community. Not a judgment on anybody, but scientifically not very helpful either. And those drugs could be prescription drugs, they could be local pharmaceuticals, if you know what I mean. But agents are prone to that. Agents are, by nature, most agents are working commission only. And so by the very nature of the selection of that as an industry, you are risk tolerant and you have a much higher risk tolerance than most of the general community. How that looks is you involve yourself in risky behavior when you're trying to self-medicate, when you're trying to numb things, when you're trying to, when sometimes depending on where you're at in the headspace, you're looking to alcohol, you're looking to drugs, you're looking to extramarital affairs, you're looking to gambling, you're looking to all kinds of things that when you were clear of mind, clear of purpose, you wouldn't actually make that choice. And the problem with some of those things is that the more that you engage with them, the less your resistance to be involved with that happens. And then, that means poor financial choices, and all kinds of things that can happen. And these are all forms of self-sabotage, but many of them are very, very well accepted in the community as just being life. That's just life, Rob. Don't be so stuffy. Why are you so, stuffy? Just live a little. Let's get out there. Let's have some fun. I've seen it all. I've seen it all. I've seen people make decisions in the moment of having fun that have had lasting lifetime implications on what they're doing, whether that be from drugs, whether that be from extramarital affairs, whether that be from gambling, whether that be from whatever it is. Choices that have had consequences that, when sober, when in your right mind, you wouldn't make those choices. So those are a couple of notes on that. Now, let's talk a little bit about some solutions. As I'm talking about this, again, these are just things that I have seen and observed that work and have helped other people. Again, disclaimer, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a counselor, I'm just a person that's been through life, had a few knocks along the way, had some positives, had some negatives, but generally am now in a very, very good headspace most of the time. And I just want to share some of the tools and strategies that might be helpful for you. Um, I would encompass all of this under the heading of have a clear path. A confused mind makes no good decisions. So when you're trying to have a foot in, I'm going to be the best agent in the world, and a foot in self-sabotage camp, it's really, it can throw you into weird stuff. So creating a clear path for your life. Um, and I know many of you will be familiar with Simon Sinek. If not, YouTube him. He really brought forward the concept of having your own why. Why is it that you're doing things? And I really encourage all of the agents that I work with to have a strong why. That gives you meaning and purpose. If your why isn't big enough, get a bigger why. To be number one in the state, to be number one in your office, to be number one in your brand is not a big enough why to be sustainable, because when you reach that milestone, and I've talked to lots of agents that have reached that milestone, they've got a trophy, they've got a piece of paper, they've got their name on a list somewhere, either in the office or somewhere in the state or whatnot. Once that's happened, it's cool, it's great to have the recognition, but it's really quite hollow. So you want to look for meaning and purpose in your life. Um, Start with your habits. A lot of people will start with their goals. Start looking at your habits. And this will be your work habits, your health habits, your finance habits, your relationship habits. Look at your habits. And I highly recommend the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. Get into that if you're not familiar with that. Get into that way of thinking. To a small change in your habits, your daily habits, can have a massive impact on your life. So look at your habits, have clear goals. Your habits will form your goals. So I still think it's important to have a benchmark of where you want to go, whether it be production, finance, vacations, maybe real estate investments or other forms of investments, travel, extra properties, charity, being involved in charities, whatever it is, have some goals. Once you have the goals, lay out your action plans. So my goal is you might want to gain weight, you might want to lose weight, you might want to get stronger, you might want to, become a better surfer, whatnot. Put out an action plan in place for that. Let's say you want to surf and you currently don't surf. Google, where's my local surf school? Obviously in the middle of the desert in Western Australia. It's going to be a way, but you know what I mean? Like start to make those action plans. I still think there's huge power in the vision board. Do you have a vision board? If not, get one. If your vision board is not fresh and updated, change it out. What I mean by a vision board is a tactile, real vision board that sits in your office, sits on your desk, sits at your home office, whatever it is, with the things that you want your life to be about, pictures of them, words, all taped, glued, whatever, onto that. There's something about that process that rewires your RAS, which is your reticular activating system of your brain. And it will guide your subconscious to move your life in that direction. The same as I always am coaching agents to have an ideal client. What is your ideal client avatar? Who are the people that you want to work with? Who are for me, it's people between the ages of 30 and 65 that are chilled, laid back, that can sell their property, that are willing to be educated, they're willing to be coached along the process. They're in a financial position where they can actually sell the property regardless of the market. And so if you don't have that, then you're just winging it and you're taking business from everywhere. And that's where you get the problem clients, the clients that are trying to derail you and those kind of things. So make clear, good choices from your client scenario as well. So we talked about your vision board. I really encourage what really I had a period of my life years and years and years and years ago. I went through a divorce. Prior to the divorce, I was out doing home opens. I got a text from my then wife. Hey, what time are you home today? Not an unusual message at all. Um, Said the time, came home. The house was empty. There was $40 sitting on the kitchen bench with a note saying, sorry, I have to go find myself. Oh, by the way, you no longer have access to the bank accounts. These things are traumatic. Like these things are traumatic. And one of the things that helped me through that was to journal about it. What am I feeling? How am I feeling? What are my wins for the day? What are my losses for the day? What did I do to further myself towards my why? How did I move towards my goal? I mean, I was in a slump for 5 years, on again, off again, up and down, emotional roller coaster. Good. But that was one of the tools that I used eventually to help me work through that process is writing a journal entry daily, not to broadcast, not to share with people, but just my own thoughts. What did I do right yesterday? Three things, because we can be our own critics, so harsh on ourselves, and there's no power in that. That only complicates the situation. We get a lot of what we call broken record. I don't know if you're old enough to know what a record is, but a lot of you will. The vinyl. Uh, when you had a scratch in a vinyl record or a scratch or an actual breaking record, sometimes that record player would just play the same thing over and over and over. When we get those anxious thoughts, those feelings of overwhelm, those feelings of despair, hopelessness, I'm never going to get another listing. I'm never going to be able to sell Smith Street. I'm never going to, whatever that situation is, whether it's personal, professional, whatever, we sometimes just get in that loop, that mental loop. Tony Robbins talks about it, about your state, your mental state. Um, for me, journaling was a great tool to be able to get out of that state, change your state. You have a mental state, a physical state, a financial state, all those kind of things, but you can work on each of those. And so with that, if you are new to journaling, you're not a big writer, whatever, go to YouTube, look up bullet journaling. It's great. Next thing, your diet. You know, in our industry, it is so easy. I'll put my hand up. It is so easy to hit the drive-through instead of good, healthy, nutritious food. Um, your diet is a major impact. Just think of what goes in your mouth is actually feeding your gut, which then feeds your body, which gives you the building blocks that help your brain function and helps your brain, the synapses that goes on in your brain strength, your brain health, your brain everything. So when we're thinking about our mental health, our key tool is our brain, and the way we feed it, nurture it, hydrate it is so important. Be thinking about that. Exercise. I remember reading a book. I can't even remember the name of the book, but the reality of the situation was this guy was having a big mental slump, and he contacted a friend for some help. And the friend said, "Go get your running shoes." He's like, "No, no, no, I've got all these business problems." He goes, "Yeah, go get your running shoes and get out and start movement. Just do movement, whether it's walking, depending on what other your physical limitations and ailments are, whether it's walking, swimming, jogging, cycling, surfing, whatever it is, get movement into your life every day. Oh, but I'm so busy. I've got this much prospecting to do. I've got these Facebook ads to do. I've got this content to create. I've got this to do, that to do. You never get a second chance at this day. And this is about creating those habits that will serve you well going forward. Get some community engagement. Now, by nature, I'm an introvert, so I'm quite happy being in my own company and whatnot. Being around lots of people sometimes tires me out more than it does. You get somebody that's not that's an extrovert, they get around a lot of people and they just start powering up. For me, it's the opposite, but I'm aware of that. So I have key people in my life that I engage with on a regular basis, talk about the pluses, the minuses, the whatever. But I take that responsibility to do that, to make sure that I'm around people. Even for me as an introvert, if I just go where people are, I don't have to talk to them. But it helps me with my perception of the world. It helps me with everything that I'm dealing with. Your spirituality, whatever you're choosing in your life with spirituality, it's tied to the meaning and purpose that you have in your life. You might be involved in wanting to do um, things for people in another country, things for people in your community. You might be involved in your church, your yoga retreats, whatever it is. Engage in your spirituality. You might think all of that is nonsense. Well, just stop and engage in your own personal meditation, your own personal self-development. Um, and again, I'll highlight this. I just talked about it. Um, Taking your own personal accountability and responsibility for your mental well-being. And this could look like, depending on where you're at, if you've got problems and you are feeling overwhelmed, there's a lot of ways that you can get help, right? Oftentimes, if it's not so severe, you can manage it yourself. Other times, you want to bring in other people. And that's my last thing I want to talk about is seek help. First from friends, family. Uh, there are also many free services, which on the sheet that will be linked under this video, you will see those free services. And then don't be ashamed. There is no shame in seeking professional help. There are many people out there, many organizations that have resources. It could be you might need to talk to someone. You might be missing a key chemical that you want to have that will help you. You might find that you get diagnosed and you've got a little bit of an issue there and you want to self-manage that. We're just a reflection of society. There's no judgment on people. There is no stigma anymore. In the old days, when people had the stigma of those kind of things, that's all gone now. This is 2024, heading into 2025. I'm not sure when you're going to watch this video, but don't be afraid to ask for help. It's like, imagine if you were flying through, if you flew into America and you went to Chicago O'Hare National Airport and you didn't know where you were going. You knew where you were supposed to go, but you didn't know where you were and you didn't know how to get there. You just stop and ask for help. It could be just a passerby. It could be someone else. It could be the info desk. Think of the help that's available to you from free resources through to paid resources as stopping and asking for direction. You deserve a wonderful life. You're not here by mistake. You were put here for a purpose. Continue to find it, continue to do well, and we wish you all the best. Thank you for taking time to spend with me as we're thinking about mental health, keeping it real, and keeping it on track. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.